I'm more deserving because I have 10 victories in a row. I put everybody away. It doesn't matter for me who's here or who thinks that they're more deserving. It doesn't matter to me who's going to be the title holder. What I know is I'm putting people away, and I'm the next person in line. Dana, please give me the title shot. I deserve it more than anybody else.
Does Jamahal Hill have a point? So after his defeat to Alex Pereira, Jamahal Hill stated that the sequence leading to the stoppage was what threw him off. Because after the low blow to Alex, which Jamahal Hill claims never happened, Herb Dean stepped in, but Alex quickly pushed him off in order to continue. And just a couple of seconds after that, he connected with a knockout blow on the confused Jamal. Now Jamal isn't blaming Alex, in fact he commends him for the gritty and competitive move. But he does wish Herb properly reset the fight instead of just following Alex's orders. Should this controversial moment be resolved with a rematch?
Most likely the next line going to be Prohaska. You know what I mean? Jamahal Ankalaev going to have to wait a little bit. I know Jamal has been talking some trash, but also going to have to wait a little longer. But I think it's Prohaska the next one.
Anybody in that top 10, I'll destroy anybody in my way. Nothing but trying to make my way to the top, that's it.
So we have Carlos Ulberg ranked 11th versus Jamahal Hill ranked number 3. They will be facing each other for a somewhat comfy title shot reserved seat in the future. There is of course Yeri as well, which would be the immediate fight to make against Alex Pereira as he already confirmed it. And also Ankalaev, who is just waiting for the title shot. But because he is waiting, I'm thinking the UFC will take advantage to have him book another fight against someone else. So to structure this video, majority will be about the matchup between Hill and Ulberg, and Yeri and Ankalaev will be at the end. Let's start off with Hill's style as a fighter. He's only lost twice in his MMA career. His first loss is against Paul Craig out of all people. He destroyed him with his jiu-jitsu and that was the match. Paul Craig has also beaten Ankalaev as well. So if this was an RPG, he maxed all of his stats into jiu-jitsu and left everything else at level 1. We can rule out Jamahal Hill's ground game. Also considering he's fighting the kickboxer Ulberg, and if he wins, he's going to rematch the kickboxer Alex Pereira, so it's going to be fine for the time being. His other loss is against Alex Pereira from that crazy left hook. There's been some debate or some cope from Hill saying that the Herb Dean moment was crucial to his loss.
It's an interesting thing that was brought up, and I didn't think anything of it at the time. And then I watched it again. I was like, there's kind of a point there. Jamal accidentally hits him low. He kicks him in the hip. And Herb Dean comes in to stop it. And then Pereira does the super gangster thing. But in the meantime, Jamal has stopped and relaxed after he threw the kick. He gives him a thumbs up, like, you cool? And then Pereira does it, and then Pereira advances. And then Herb is to the left. Yeah. So it's like he can't even move too much to the left. And all of a sudden, he's on him, and he hits him with that left hook.
Yeah.
And I think Jamal saying, I would have never let him that close to me if it wasn't for that nut shot, and I didn't know exactly what was going on.
I don't know if I believe him or not because he is known for yapping about everything, but let's take his words to consideration. He is correct about another thing about his style. He did state he was never in trouble in the stand-up game since Alex Pereira. So let's quickly take a look. When Hill fought OSP, he was dominant the whole fight. The only problem was the small segment where OSP went southpaw. That was not in Hill's training regimen and he got caught a few times absorbing strikes. But soon the opponent didn't get confident enough in southpaw and couldn't handle the pressure of Jamal. It ended in round 3 TKO. Does Hill versus Jimmy Crute count? Well, this was the equivalent of the recent Ulberg fight. He fought a top 15 light heavyweight and TKOs him in under a minute. Hill is very good at distance management, very natural for a southpaw, where he can high kick and lead hook more confidently than the opponent, which easily segues to the Johnny Walker fight. Hill just had pressure the whole time, backing Walker to the cage. There was one time where Johnny couldn't handle the pressure and retaliated, but it didn't really work. And then the trusty right hand that slept him good. And of course, the Glover and Santos fight. These fights were mainly the same where Hill had pressure most of the time and there really was nothing the other opponents could really do. Hill finished Santos in the 4th round because he was just exhausted after that, mainly from the failed grappling attempts. That definitely took a toll on his cardio. And Glover survived. Don't want to dive more than that because it was a sad retirement fight in a very sad venue. I'm not discrediting Jamahal Hill, but Alex is a different animal. He was the only fighter that pressured back and made Hill back off to the cage. And of course, you know where it led to. So it's up for debate if that KO was taking advantage of the small timeout. But Alex looked 1,000 times better than his past opponents against Hill. So who knows? So now we dive into the challenger, Ulberg. We can get this out of the way. Well, it may not age well and it's an opinion, so chill. Ulberg is probably not as good as Pereira. Let's just say that, okay? So there is at least a bigger chance of Hill not losing to Ulberg, even if his chin was career level compromised by Alex. Let's begin with the good sides of Ulberg before diving into the crazy stuff. He mixed his early MMA career with his kickboxing career. Before the UFC, he was 3-0, and his kickboxing record was 19 wins and 2 losses, and also a boxing record of 1-0. It feels a little bit weird talking about Ulberg's recent wins straight after talking about Jamahal Hill's recent wins. He holds an impressive win over the 13th ranked light heavyweight, but Jamahal basically did that too. And all of Ulberg's fights before the recent win were not really that big of a competition. Comparatively, of course. Comparatively. But besides that, we can still dive into his fighting style that might cause Hill some problems regardless of resume. I can basically sum up all of his striking finishes into one big summary. It all ends the same. Ulberg is a fast kickboxer for light heavyweight. He's really good at moving forward and back really fast and knows how to strike in between. Every person that got knocked out by Ulberg thought they got a read on him, only to be clipped by a check hook where Ulberg backed up for the perfect distance for. If you're Jamahal Hill, be patient. Your pressure is your weapon already. Don't just unleash some dumb strong shit because before you know it, it could end you. And not to mention his name as the Black Jag. If you're knocked down, you don't get up. He's actually like an animal who just jumps you for the ground and pound. So Jamahal should also work on his defense if or when he does get rocked. Izzy is teammates with Ulberg, but also taught Jamahal Hill how to fight against Alex in UFC 300. So it's pretty obvious who he's going to support for this matchup, but you know there's a bit of conflict inside him. That's just the fight game. There's always going to be a loser and there's always going to be a winner. The only loss Ulberg suffered was his full-on UFC debut in 2021. Let's actually explain this one. Ulberg came in as a moderate favorite, having 5-0 in his record already. His opponent Kennedy has an impressive record of 7-1, despite him being the moderate underdog.
Kennedy, African Savage, and Zachiku.
Ulberg actually did very good, rocking his opponent in the first few exchanges. He advanced with a kickboxing combination where all of the strikes landed. Hook, uppercut, jab to lead high kick. It's the light heavyweight division, so any strike will feel like a truck. And he used all the attacks that were just needed to reach a backing opponent. He got rocked for half a round and Ulberg was just playing patient, making sure not to slip up. Kennedy actually had time to really recover and landed shots of his own and survived most of Ulberg's teeing off session.
Slowing down.
He's big left from Nzechiku now.
And there's time. There's plenty of time left. And towards the end of the round, Ulberg taking some big, deep breaths, noticeably fatigued, but just ripped to the body anyway. Really emptied his gas tank.
The first round was definitely to Ulberg, but his biggest weakness was his cardio. I don't blame him because fights involving him shouldn't last more than one round, but still, he's flopping and sweating 3 times more than the opponent, and he's the one winning. And round 2 is where the inevitable happened. Ulberg just had no power. Or should I say, Kennedy just had too much durability. Nothing was coming close to knocking him out, but he was still definitely hurt. Ulberg got damaged, but it was more self-inflicted damage. He was so worn out. He wasn't even breathing properly. Breathing through his mouth, and his mouth guard was hanging out. And the finisher was a lead hook from southpaw. The same one that Jamahal Hill is extremely proficient at.
Around.
Oh! Huge right from Nzechiku! Kennedy Nzechiku has knocked out Carlos Ulberg!
The fans are equally divided on who is going to win. Once the result is shown in the fight, then it will become clear what the cause was. Jamahal Hill's KO loss was from a left hook from an orthodox kickboxer, which helps Ulberg. And Ulberg got KO'd by a right hook southpaw fighter with pretty good cardio, which helps Jamahal Hill. My prediction is that it will be a round 1 Ulberg KO, or anything after that would be Hill winning. So if Ulberg wins, that will grant him the title shot after Yuri and Alex fight, or after Ankalaev. And preceding that will most likely be Jamahal Hill versus Roundtree rescheduled. That's just my shitty matchmaking skills if Ulberg wins round 1 KO. Now if Jamal wins in spectacular fashion, he might get the next title shot, depending on how well the fight sold and how much hype it sold. Ulberg's next fight could be Jan or Rakic. Ulberg might be more marketable than we think right now, so he might get a second chance being at the top. Ankalaev is obviously the most suitable for a title shot as well, especially when fans are still skeptical on Pereira and wants to see his ground game in action. Ankalaev is basically the light heavyweight Islam, where he's very good at striking and wrestling, and also having 1 loss in his whole record. He's in a weird spot where we can tell Dana White is a little bit hesitant and some casuals don't really want to see another Dagestani championship fight. Dagestani or Russian. The normal fans want to really see this fight and they know it's overdue for the title shot. The UFC also can't pull the defend your ranking card because he recently did that against Johnny Walker. But sadly, due to rescheduling and him not being as crazily marketable, he might have to defend his ranking again to keep him busy. I'll be humble in my matchmaking skills and admit that I have no fucking idea what the next fight is going to be with Ankalaev. The next timely match for the current light heavyweight champion, most likely. Yuri vs Alex 2 might be a lot more exciting than the first one. The worst case scenario for Yuri is that he gets KO'd again, but it will still make heaps of pay-per-views, and if it's close enough, it might be a trilogy fight. I basically explained all of his fights in one giant frickin' video, so I don't want to dive into it all over again, so make sure to watch that now.